What's going on, everybody? This is John Jake Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the FCS Dynasty. And we are closing in on the regular season. Got a lot of great action for you guys, as well as some SBS transfer updates as well for some of your guys' custom. So, should be a fun one. Hope you guys are excited for it. And if you are, make sure you go ahead, smack that like button. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. And we are out here, man. How about this leading off this episode, man? Top 25 matchup. Arkansas Pine-Bluff taking on Alcorn State, where this is a big game for at-large bid implications. 2014 playoff. Arkansas Pine-Bluff at number 25. If they win, because this is their last game of the season, they should be in. But if Alcorn State can get in or win this game, that would help their chances as well, as they'll likely have a conference championship game with Texas Southern that they'll have to deal with. But Alcorn State, they came to play early on today, picking off Jacob Cool Beans. And so Alcorn State will take over about the 35-yard line. Rod Robertson, he's going to look to go to work, though, throwing the deep ball, and it's going to be caught. Touchdown, Alcorn State. There's Josiah Goodwin, able to get away from everybody in the secondary. No shot anyone was going to be able to catch up to this young man whatsoever. And the Alcorn State Braves, they will take a 7-0 lead. And they will look to extend that lead as well, as they're going to throw back over to the right-hand side. It's another big throw down the sideline. That's also going to be caught for a touchdown. Rod Robertson, man, he is absolutely feeling himself. That is a dime. And Alcorn State looks to take momentum and the lead into the locker room now. 14-3. Robertson throws to the right-hand side. I don't know how that's caught, first of all. And not only is that going to be caught, that's going to be a touchdown, too. Like, you literally cannot make this up. Most quarterbacks do not have the ability to throw the ball just how Rod Robertson just did right there. This was a dot. Should have been intercepted. Somehow it was not. And the Braves with a 21-3 lead now, as Jacob Coolbeans will try to score on his own here last 35 seconds of this first half. But handing it off to the tailback, that might have been Paul Joseph Forte. That's going to end up being picked up by an Alcorn State defender. So Arkansas Pine-Bluff, big game for the Golden Lions trying to get to the FCS playoffs, because they're 6-4 right now. And they kind of came out flat. They are coming out flat so far, but it's not all bad for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. They do finally get an interception on Rod Robertson, as that was big. If Alcorn State scored there, we're looking at 31-3. So that was a big turnover that the Golden Lion defense got, but we do see a second interception, though. And this time, Arkansas Pine-Bluff's defense just said, listen, if the offense not going to do what it's supposed to do, we're just going to have to score on our own. And that's now back to a 2-score game. So now 24-10 being your score here in the fourth quarter of action, as Alcorn State actually going to go to the running game. And how about this? They're going to get some plus plays down the sideline. Justin Ross, who doesn't really touch the ball for him, averages less than 10 carries a game. That was a 6th carry, and he makes the most of it, man. So now firmly in Arkansas Pine-Bluff territory, as Rod Robertson lines up under center. Looks like there's multiple offensive linemen out on the field, but wait a minute, it's a play action. Robinson's got some time. He's finding the tight end. Tight end breaks the tackle, and he's in the end zone again. Touchdown, Braves. And Alcorn State pulling away from Arkansas Pine-Bluff here on the road as well. That's what's been truly the most impressive thing to witness. They pull away on the road as Alcorn State wins this one 31-10. And not only does it help them get an at-large bid in the event that they do not win their conference championship game against Texas Southern, they also knock out a fellow conference opponent. Arkansas Pine-Bluff, they're likely done. They were very close to make it to the FCS playoffs once again, but it looks like for the second year in a row, they're going to fall just short. It's heartbreaking too, because this at-large playoff field, the at-large bids, those teams that are competing for it, honestly aren't that great compared to previous seasons. So a little bit of heartbreak there, but we now go to a key rivalry game in the Big Sky Conference. We got Eastern Washington going on the road to take on the Montana Grizzlies, and both these teams are in a similar spot. You know, both teams need this win in order to remain competitive for that at-large bid. But Montana, I'll tell you what about Montana. They have come in, they have been playing some really excellent football here in the second half of the season. Some of that is they did make an adjustment in the backfield. Brian Hurst does have a reduced role. It's been more Mario Matthews as of late. And Mark Fulton has not made any mistakes as of yet. But Mario Matthews, he gets a good run here. But problem is, he lets go of the football just a little bit too early. And Mario Matthews, he's been having a nice sophomore season. He has really emerged for this Montana squad. But that fumble there is going to really cost him a little bit late in the first quarter of action. So it still remains 0-0, and it remains a tie ball game here going to the last couple of minutes of this first half. So Carl Joseph Fousen, he's going to go ahead, run it down the sideline. Got a little bit concerned he might fumble that football, but he does hang on to it there. And Carl J. Fousen has the Eastern Washington Eagles in the red zone and a chance to strike back. And you got to convert here because Montana, top 10 defense, but they turn the ball over. And not only that, he's trying to run away from everybody. Fousen, the closest defender, but there's not enough real estate though. Touchdown Montana. And Seth Correll, he just changed the entire complexion of this entire game. Oh my goodness. Eastern Washington, they were about to score, and instead Montana has a 7-0 lead. So now Fousen comes back out onto the field after that turnover, but look who's there to force the fumble on the very next possession. It's Seth Correll there too. Well, the linebackers do come in, makes the play on the football, so you certainly love to see that. And just guys stepping up in these key moments, you love to see it. So now 7-0 still being your score as Eastern Washington tries to get itself back into the game. But, you know, now you just get this feeling that's a little bit of desperation time because Fousen, he's throwing balls like that. That's not really what you want to see. You know, just a little bit of desperation there. And now Mark Fulton, the backup quarterback, has a chance to extend this lead a little bit for the Montana Grizzlies. Gets it out to the custom Mario Matthews, the former #1 running back out of high school. And Mario Matthews making his presence felt here in his sophomore campaign. Just a nice wheel route on the outside. And you know how it is with those wheel routes. As all of the offensive coordinators, at least all the smart ones, will say, if he's even, he's leaving. And that's certainly what we saw there. But speaking of Mario Matthews, he's just going to town here. How about breaking this big time run right up the middle of the field? Just a great work by the offensive line. But Mario Matthews in particular breaks one tackle and nearly gets away from a second. He's going to be a tough problem. And he's got that impact star turned on. So he's ready to break a big one. And sure enough, he does. Breaking another tackle as well as he finds his way into the end zone. That's a touchdown for the Grizzlies. Make that 21-0. And Montana playing great in their home stadium. Their home crowd really leading them on. And it's going to be a 28-0 lead going into the final quarter of action. So unless something absolutely crazy happens here, I think Montana, they're going to be notching their 7th win this season. They're really going to be sitting pretty for the FCS playoffs. So I'm going to get back. They haven't really gotten back in the past couple of years. It feels like a long time ago since season #1 when they made it all the way to, I believe it was the semifinals. They had a deep run in year #1. Hopefully they can get back to that point. As now goal line situation here for the Montana Grizzlies, firing over to the right hand side, and Mark Fulton firing another touchdown pass, and that will seal the deal as the Montana Grizzlies in a must-win game for Eastern Washington. In a rivalry game as well, we see the Grizzlies handle business. They win 35-0. Yep, that is going to be your final score. 35-0. And this might be the nail in the coffin for the Eastern Washington Eagles, as this bad loss is going to really hurt them. They go to 2-5 in conference play. But before we go ahead and go into our very first studio update of this episode, we'll check on one of your guys' custom players that did end up transferring up to the FBS level, and that is Zoo Animal. Zoo Animal, the corner from Southern. He's out here at UAB now. And here on senior day, they're taking on the #1 team in the country, the Notre Dame Fighter Irish, who are 10-0. And we're seeing Zoo Animal making some tackles there in the open field. And what I do also like about Zoo Animal, he's also going to help out in the run support, in that run defense as well. And Antoine Bush only has a yard picked up there. So you love seeing Zoo Animal, being a corner that he is. He's more of a coverage guy, stepping up in that run defense. You really do like to see that, as that's another tackle there for Zoo Animal, who's wearing number 47, by the way. As now, late in the third quarter, Notre Dame has built up a little bit of a 10-point lead. But how about Zoo Animal here, filling up the gap and just trying to be that stone wall until other defenders come in? So, not a solid game for Zoo Animal overall, but Notre Dame was just a little bit too much in this one. As the Fighting Irish, they look like they are in a shoe-in for the college football playoff at this point. They're going to win by a final score of 45-21. And unfortunately, UAB, they're going to finish a very disappointing season in the American. They're going to finish just 1-7 in American Conference play and have an overall record of 3-9. So that is a very tough thing to see there. So after a few games in FCS and a little bit in FBS land as well, we'll have our first studio update of this episode. And we start with Western Carolina. They take care of business against the Delta Devils, as Western Carolina wins 42-21 to get the 9-1 on the season. Southeast Missouri State also finishing their season strong, as they'll look to try to sneak in to a first round bye. They win 43-24 against Youngstown State. Meanwhile, in the early games, we do see Eastern Michigan try to claw their way back into the top 25, and they do win convincingly against Buffalo. They win 55-21 in an absolute blowout. But we do also see Murray State. They might have possibly gotten themselves into the playoffs for the very first time. They beat Tennessee Tech 47-20. They're going to finish this season at 8-3. As for Eastern Illinois, they'll still have one more game left to play, but they're also looking pretty good for an FCS playoff appearance, as they beat Tennessee State 34-31. As for Texas State, they'll finish the year 10-1, and they should have their first playoff appearance. They beat Delaware in a very close game, 31-24. Chattanooga also taking care of its business as well, as they try to play into an at-large bid. This time they beat Grambling State 45-28. Utah State also continuing to quench the WAC title, and not only did they do that, they also improved their overall seeding. They beat New Mexico State 38-13 on the road. Akron also proving why they're the #1 team in the country, as they beat the Ohio Bobcats 38-6, as Akron still remains as the only undefeated team in the country. But now we check back in on some other games happening around the FCS, some critical games, as Northwestern State is getting ready to kick things off against the Southeastern Lions. And here's a quick look at the SEC West standings flash on the screen. If not, Northwestern State wins this game, they will be going to the SEC Championship game. But that being said, if they lose this game and we see Sam Houston State win, they will be playing later in this episode. They will be the ones going to the conference championship game. So definitely some intrigue here in week number 13 for sure. We'll see if Southeastern can play a little bit of spoiler, as their tailback is actually going to get a big handoff, running right down the middle of the field, and that's going to be a big gain inside the 30-yard line now. The Lions known for passing that football, but they can run that football a little bit too now. As now throwing over to the left-hand side and finding a receiver. Touchdown, Southeastern. And just like that, the Lions are going to take the lead. And we'll see if they can maintain that lead throughout the remainder of this game. 3 minutes left here in the second quarter. Another strike down the right-hand side. That's also going to be caught. That is the tight end, Paxton Grove, able to get loose there. And how about them apples? We got 1st and 10 from the 33-yard line. And this offense find a little bit of a groove here. Northwestern State, they got a pretty good defense over there, but really trying to make them look silly. But that being said, right as I say that, Northwestern State to get an interception. That's Jared Zeiger. And Jared Zeiger's going to be able to get them hands on the ball. Trying to get it out to the star receiver, Mateo West, who I wouldn't be surprised ends up going to the NFL. He is a very talented wide receiver. So that's a big compliment for Jared Zeiger staying with him. But Mateo West is going to get his. You know, that's really what it barrels down to. Mateo West, he is the driving force on this football team. Big reason why they made the FCS playoffs last year was this guy right here. And he gets that special teams touchdown, extend this lead up to an 8-point game. And now, Northwestern State, they need something from their offense. They really do. And more importantly, they need to stop them here. Get a turnover, something. Because here we are, 2 minutes left. They have a chance to close out this game. Throwing it up for Mateo West, and it's caught. Touchdown, Southeastern. 21-6 gonna be your score. And we might mess around and see an upset here. Unless Northwestern State, led by its backup quarterback, Jeremiah Hoodie, he can be the savior, trying to throw downfield. But, oh, that fat lady, she's warming up the vocals. And I think she's going to start singing. Lance Daniels going to provide the dagger for what will possibly be Northwestern State's last gasp of there. Checking out the replay. And nice job bringing some tackles as well. Is now 44 seconds left to play as we'll see this tailback go to work here a little bit. And possibly, well, hang on now. Northwestern State, they did use their timeouts in a way that they at least have a little bit of a shot. They got to get downfield quickly. Got to save a little bit of time somehow. But look what happens there. Another fumble. In Northwestern State's offense, they were stymied today, and they take their second loss of the season. Southeastern not only keeping itself alive, and they can win their next game, they can find a way to sneak into the playoffs possibly. Meanwhile, Northwestern State, because they lost here today, Sam Houston State now has a chance to go to the conference championship game ultimately. Although Northwestern State should still be okay, I don't see them falling too terribly far because it was a little bit fluky with what happened to their starting quarterback and all of that. So now we check in on Northern Arizona going on the road to take on Weber State. And once upon a time, Weber State, I thought they were going to be a team that was going to be a shoo-in for the playoffs. They were 5-0. They were playing great football in the first half of the season. Ever since then, they've been on a 4-game losing streak. And now they definitely need to win out. They need to win this game. They need to win their next game as well. And that's going to be no easy task. Northern Arizona, they have a very fine football team. Tyrone Wolf, he is the leader of this offense. He has been playing great football as well. So it's going to be a challenge here for the Weber State Wildcats. We'll see if they can still pull off that upset as Evelyn Thomas is going to start things out. He's going to get sacked in the backfield. So 4th and long, Weber State, they do end up having to punt this football away. And Northern Arizona are going to get into the hands of their stud running back, Darrell Williams, who somehow gets out of that. Are you joking right now? There was an entire pile. How did he get out of that pile? I have no idea. But man, that is a big time return to start things out for Northern Arizona. And that will give the Lumberjacks a 7-0 lead. So we'll see if Evelyn Thomas can rise to the occasion. His team really needs him, but it looks like when it's mattered the most, he's like Avatar the Airbender, and he simply vanishes. Evelyn Thomas, the moment might be too big for him, big fella, as that's going to be intercepted here. So Northern Arizona, they take over. They don't score anything though, and it does remain a 7-0 game. So now Thomas trying to throw it out over the middle once again, but this time it's yet another interception. A rough day here for the Wildcats here in just the first few quarters of action, Charles Hurst is able to get that interception and provide the Lumberjacks with great field position. And as a team that is one of the best red zone scoring teams in the country, that is a huge boost. And sure enough, Northern Arizona, they will find the end zone there as well. Tyrone Wolf will get that touchdown, and that will make it a 14-0 game. As Abilene Thomas still not giving up on anything. He's going to throw it down the right-hand side. Actually might mess around and be a touchdown. However, he is caught from behind. So that will give Weber State inside the 10-yard line. But just take a look at this ball placement that Abilene Thomas has here. This is just an incredible throw over to the right-hand side. Gets it over the outstretched arms of the defender. And now Weber State will have first and goal inside that 10-yard line. A couple plays later, second and goal from the 9-yard line. Throwing it up to the right-hand side. Same receiver that made that big play as well. And Weber State, they are going to be right back into this football game. And it remains a very competitive ball game. 17-13 now being your score. We jump in to late in the third quarter. Tyrone Wolf's going to throw his ball out to the left-hand side, trying to get it out to one of his receivers. But that does also end up being intercepted. First interception that we do see from Tyrone Wolf here in this one. So, that being said, Tyrone Wolf trying to get Weber State to win this football game. Trying to get another Big Sky team into the FCS playoffs, I guess. But again, Weber State can't do anything. They miss a field goal. So Northern Arizona still finds itself ahead here. But this Northern Arizona squad, man, they're really trying their best to give this game away. They really are. They are struggling pretty significantly here in this second half of action. And Weber State now has a chance to take the lead with 2 minutes left. 3rd and 8. Thomas is trying to stay in the pocket, but eventually he just runs out of time. Willie Hancock, he gets his first career sack of his collegiate career. It's been a rotational piece for Northern Arizona. Comes in on a Pacific pass rush situation. And now Weber State down to its last breath. 4th and 14. Thomas throws it over to the right-hand side. It's caught, and it actually goes for a first down. That was a big-time play. How about Abilene Thomas throwing it on the money, and that receiver also making some things happen after the catch as well. So Weber State trying to stay alive, but they face yet another 4th down. 4th and 4, though. This is a more convertible 4th down. Abilene throws over the middle. It's caught, and it's another first down for the Weber State Wildcats, who have dominated Northern Arizona in terms of first downs. They have more total yards and everything. They just haven't been able to finish drives. And that's a big reason why. 3 for 13 on 3rd down conversions. We'll see if that continues as Thomas throws over to the left-hand side, but it's intercepted. And that should do it here. 41 seconds left. I don't think Weber State has the timeouts in order to get this football back. They don't got it like that. And Northern Arizona provides Weber State with their 5th consecutive loss. How about that? Weber State, after starting 5-0, I thought they were going to go into the FCS playoffs, but they have just collapsed here in the second half of the season. And I don't know what's happened. They're not even that injured. They just, I don't know if just the teams around them have gotten better because of coaching. Maybe it's a coaching issue at Weber State. I have no idea, to be honest with you guys. But what I do know is that Northern Arizona, they win yet again. They're looking pretty good to get into the FCS playoffs. 7-3 is going to be their record after this game is officially registered and recorded. And at number 13 in the country, even though they're not getting in for a automatic bid, they should be good for that at-large bid. But after that dramatic finish in the Weber State and Northern Arizona game, we go into another studio update. And how about South Dakota State going off on a high note as the Jackrabbits do beat the South Dakota Coyotes 54-13 in order to at least get to 5-6. As for Eastern Kentucky, they were one of the few teams in the country that did end up playing in 12 games and this 12th game might help them out a little bit as they're now 8-4, beating their rivals in Western Kentucky 20-13. New Hampshire, on the other hand, is able to get to 8-3 on the season as they take down Norfolk State in conference play. The Wildcats win 41-24 to get to 8-3. So with Northwestern State losing in surprising fashion to Southeastern Louisiana, this game has a little bit more significance now as Sam Houston State, they have the opportunity to put themselves in the driver's seat and put themselves ahead of Northwestern State, because remember, these two teams did play each other, and Sam Houston State, you know, they did not win, right? So if Sam Houston State can win this game, they can put themselves in the driver's seat and possibly compete in the conference championship game against probably Texas State, right? So we'll see if Sam Houston State can pull this win off, handle their business, or will Elon try to make some things happen? And how about this? Elon making some big plays down the field. That's a big first down for the Elon Phoenix. Doing a little bit better of a job going down the field than running Twitter. And now Elon's at the 27-yard line now as the Phoenix trying to go ahead and score on their opening drive. They hand it off out to the right-hand side, but it's fumbled on the ground. And Sam Houston State, they are going to recover the fumble. Let's go, man. Sam Houston State able to come in, and they will make sure that Elon does not score any points in what was actually a very promising drive here for the Elon Phoenix. But now the Cardiac Cats, they take the field on offense. They hand it off to Miniachi. This is the brother of the former Georgia Southern running back who is now up at the NFL. And this guy, he's no slouch, even though he's known as the little brother, might have lived in the shadow. But he now has over 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Congratulations to him. And it sets up a goal line situation where they go back to Miniachi, who gets away from the defenders long enough to find the end zone. And again, that is a touchdown for Sam Houston State to make this a 7-0 lead. So the Cardiac Cats playing extremely well right now as Elon, they take the field once again, dropping back, looking over to the right-hand side, is caught, but that's fumbled on the ground as well. And this one's going to be taken all the way back to the crib. Touchdown, Sam Houston State. And the Cardiac Cats, they will make this a 14-0 lead. How about that for a great recovery? So the Cardiac Cats are doing a pretty good job of taking care of business right now, of 14-0. But hang on now, the senior Tino Chances, he wants to make sure his guys remain in the game, and that's one way to do so. Big time interception. Now Elon's, they gotta come out here, gotta get some points on the board now. You got that turnover that you're looking for. Try to curb the momentum your way. And let's see what Elon can do now. Later on in the drive, throwing over to the left-hand side. It's caught. Able to spin away from a defender. That was a really nice spin move that's pulled off there. I'm sure Eric Booth, the starting quarterback for Elon, really appreciates that. I mean, he put that man in a whole spin cycle. That is just so pretty to watch. And now, 1st and 10 from the 23-yard line as we'll try to see Eric Booth try to scramble. But the quarterback design run goes terribly. Just not what you're looking for. Another turnover here for Sam Houston State. And the Cardiac Cats, they're not trying to raise any blood pressure, man. They are trying to make sure that this game is won in convincing fashion as well. And now the Cardiac Cats in the red zone, looking to score off another turnover. Bullock throws over the middle of the field, finds Mike Miniachi right down the center of the field. And that's going to be a touchdown for Sam Houston State. The Cardiac Cats, they will go into the halftime locker room. They will have a 21-0 lead. Or at least that's what I thought was going to happen until we see this kickoff come and throw things away. David Baxter, we'll see if he's back there. He is not. No, actually he is. But David Baxter puts the ball on the ground as well. So just a big mistake there, unfortunately. And eventually, Elon, they get caught with their pants down. As Sam Houston State switches over to their no-huddle offense. And we'll see what this flag is on the field, but we know what it's going to be. It's going to be an offsides. That will not matter. Sam Houston State, they get yet another touchdown on the scoreboard, and that will make it 28-0. Jumping into late in the third quarter, though, they can make this 35-0. Throw it over the middle of the field, and it's caught for a touchdown. So Sam Houston State scores again, and that will make it barbecue chicken as the Bearcats win 49-7, as they are now on a 5-game winning streak and control their own destiny to get to the conference championship. So now we have what I do believe is the FCS game of the week. We got North Dakota State, who will consider this a must-win. They have, haven't really solidified themselves like they've done in past seasons. They will take on Sacramento State, who looks like they are a shoo-in to get a first-round bye in the FCS playoffs this year, and they are led by their star receiver, Jacob Hill, who closing in on 1,000 yards receiving, but knows how to find that end zone as well. We'll see who Lee Corso decides to go with, and he is actually going to be rocking with Sacramento State there as well. You can see why. North Dakota State, they have not moved the ball at all this year. They actually have the worst offense in the entire country. Yeah, they have the least yards picked up on a per-game basis, and it's really interesting to see that. They got some good receivers like John Weeks, who was able to make that big-time reception there. LaRon Montez and Jerry Rice III is also in this receiving core. Chase Jones and Jeffrey Jefferson, Jay Free, able to, make some moves too as your 4 and 5 receivers. So it's a really interesting dynamic. Just hasn't been put together completely, obviously, but Owens will find the end zone. In North Dakota State, they will have a 7-3 lead. They will have that to work with. Big key here for North Dakota State if they want to pull up the upset. Force some turnovers, and that is one way to do it. That wasn't even a bad read. Trying to get it out to Espinoza on the outside, but just underthrew the target, man. Got to put a little bit more air under that football, and that was the difference, man, between an interception and possibly a long gain / a touchdown. But North Dakota State cannot take advantage, so it remains 7-3 for right now, as the Hornets are actually going to try to get a little bit tricky here. They go with the reversed wide receiver toss. How about that for jiving into your playbook a little bit? And it works to perfection. Goes for a pretty big gain. And now Sacramento State crosses midfield, but facing a 3rd and long. Hall's going to drop back the pass, throw over to the right-hand side. It's Carlos Espinoza. And Espinoza able to run away from the defense. And that will eventually get it to a 3rd and inches in the 1-yard line. Sacramento State, they want to pass this football. And they find Willie Hendricks in the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Sacramento State. And the Hornets will take the lead, as Corey Hall does a great job manipulating the pocket. So 10-7 going to be your score as of right now. Could be a different score here shortly, though, as Sacramento State, they force a fumble, and the Hornets do recover it. So Sacramento State starting inside the 30-yard line. We'll see if they can score any points off that drive. And, they don't get any first downs, but they do at least get the field goal to go. 13-7 now going to be your score. So North Dakota State going to be put in a difficult spot here. They haven't really been able to move the ball. Got to be able to move it here. Last play of the first half. Owens going to try to run the option, and the option actually works. LaRon Montez finds the end zone to end the first half of action, and the Bison will go into halftime with a 14-13 lead. So now, but not only does North Dakota State have the lead, they also get the ball to start the second half as well, as they go back to the option. Owens trying to go to work, trying to move things down the field, and does manage to cross that 45-yard line. Great run there by Owens. And now We're looking at a 3rd and long again. We'll see if they go back to the option. No, it's a pass play for Daryl Owens. Looking down the middle of the field. It's going to be intercepted. Trying to get the ball out to the senior, Ron Montez, but there's a flag on the field. But it's an offensive holding. It's an offensive holding on North Dakota State. So the penalty will actually be declined there. And now we will go ahead and see Sacramento State with the football as they try to go out here. They take the lead for their first possession of the first half. Espinoza already has the Hornets across midfield. And eventually we got them in the red zone. Sacramento State been pretty good in the red zone this year as Hall looking over to the left-hand side, but it's intercepted. It's intercepted, and now running down the sideline, Willie Hendricks cannot get the right angle, and this could swing a huge game for the Bison as Mike Williams, that's his first interception of the season, and it could not come at literally any better of a time right now. Let's go, man. So North Dakota State, instead of being down, they're officially up by 8 now, as they have been giving Carlos Hall fits, at least when it matters the most. We'll see if they can continue that as both teams are in their goal line sets. But wait a minute, it's a play action for Carlos Hall, throwing down the left-hand side. It's a diving grab for Willie Hendricks. They go play action off the goal line set. Saw the one-on-one matchup they were looking for. And now Sacramento State, they got a drive going on their own as they try to go. Trips to the right-hand side. Jacob Hill is isolated on the left. Do they go over to Jacob Hill? They try to, but that's also going to be intercepted. Looks like it might have been one of the customs that got their hands on the football, and that is the true freshman, Jim Sato, that completes the play. Bison eventually go get a field goal out of that. So now down 24-13, and that is when North Dakota State is at their best, up by multiple possessions, and just let that pass rush get loose. And now 3rd and long for the Sacramento State Hornets. They throw over to the right-hand side, gets it out to Johnson, and Johnson drops it right in the bucket. No, that's actually Espinoza that made that catch. He's actually now at over 100 yards. Thought that was 83. Clearly, I cannot read. So now Sacramento State trying to pull this a one-possession game. Hall throws to the right-hand side, and Carlos Espinoza makes the catch once again. Sacramento State Hornets are going to be in the red zone once more. Although the last time that they were down here, it did end up finishing in a turnover. We'll see if this also ends in agony, as we later see 4th and goal from the 7. Got to push it into the end zone, but it's deflected away. And that is going to be another interception for Jim Sato. And that should do it. North Dakota State, a must-win game for the Bison in order to help solidify their chances in the playoffs. And they're going to be going to the playoffs once again. 5th time in 5 years in this series. North Dakota State looks like they're going to be playoff bound, as they're now going to be sitting at 6-4, while also giving Sacramento State their 2nd loss here of the season. Granted, they do play an extra game. They are one of the few teams that do play a 12th game instead of a 11 games like most FCS teams do. So we'll see if Sacramento State could use that next game. It is a conference game against Weber State, by the way, in order to boost their resume a little bit for the playoffs. But for now, North Dakota State, they are going to enjoy this victory and keep things rolling. So for the final game of this episode, we will have another top 25 episode in the works, as we have Samford taking on Tennessee Martin here in a pretty key battle for really both teams, as they're still well in the hunt here in the FCS playoffs. Samford getting ready to take the field. They come in ranked number 14 in the country, whereas Tennessee Martin looking like a team that, they made the playoffs for the very first time last year. It actually had a solid run, made it all the way to the quarterfinals. They were considered a quote-unquote Cinderella of the FCS playoffs. But now Tennessee Martin, they look to be more than a Cinderella. They want to be treated as a serious threat to win the national championship this season. And how about this to get it started? Going right after Jabari Thomas, one of your guys' customs, and is a very good corner actually for the Samford Bulldogs. That being said, though, Tennessee Martin trying to keep things rolling. 41-yard line, still trying to break the goose egg off the scoreboard. And finally, it will be broken on this night as Donnie Jacobs throws a dime right down the left-hand side. Attacked that cover, too. Trusted his arm, and he got it. So it does put a little bit of pressure on Hondrick Solo, who's been a little bit up and down over the course of this season. Hondrick Solo did end up taking the sack there, but still steadily leading the team down the field, trying to create some first downs, manageable plays, but then taking a shot, and he certainly takes a shot for Brad Thomas, who right there could be a 40-yard catch. Yes, that is indeed a 40-yard reception that does put Samford in the red zone, as they're also looking for the first points of this game. Solo dropping back, fires over the middle, finds his receiver, and that is a touchdown for the Samford Bulldogs there, as Hondrick Solo manipulating that pocket well. So it's now all tied up at 7 apiece here, as Tennessee Martin looks to strike back, and that is a dime down the left-hand side for Donnie Jacobs. He sure loves testing that one-on-one coverage there, as that will be first and 10 for the 26-yard line. Just a beautiful ball there that Donnie Jacobs throws. And now, goal line situation inside the 5. Jacobs fires over the middle and finds his receiver. Touchdown, Skyhawks. They say that some teams soar and other teams fall while we're out here, in the very late crunch time of the FCS regular season. We're seeing who's soaring and who's falling, and it looks like Samford might be too much for them. As now, Tennessee Martin, they're going to get the kickoff return. It's going to be Chris Harris down the sideline, able to make some people miss, and now it's a foot race. The Samford people are starting to fall off the screen until he starts to celebrate prematurely, but that will still end up being a touchdown. Would have been a penalty in today's college football because we're a little bit softer than what we used to be, but in 06, celebrating and actually showing emotion in college football, was accepted. Imagine that. So Tennessee Martin carries a 24-7 lead into the fourth quarter of action, and Hondrick Solo just not having his day. And he wasn't terrible in this game by any means. He did have that passing touchdown and, did take relatively good care of the football. Just the team around him cannot succeed or cannot take advantage of Tennessee Martin. Unfortunately, it's just one of those days where, Hondrick Solo, at least how he is right now as a true freshman, he's more than capable of putting the team on his back, but he's not ready to do that consistently, especially as a backup quarterback caliber player at the moment. He'll be a starter one day for this football team. I mean, he's already a backup and has plenty of starting experience already, so, Samford is going to have a bright future, but right now, I just don't think Samford will be getting into the playoffs potentially with Hondrick Solo as their quarterback, and Chris Harris puts the nail in the coffin here. Second punt return for a touchdown there, going for 62 yards as well, and Tennessee Martin wins 38-7. It was a very convincing win. Skyhawks get to 8-2, so they're going to be looking good to get into the FCS playoffs. Samford, they'll need to handle business next week. They got to win their next game, because if they don't, then maybe they could miss out on a playoff opportunity. We'll see where the AP ranks them, but definitely some intriguing races around the league. So I will say this, how about a little bit of love towards the Montana Grizzlies? As they have been soaring up, they've really played themselves into a great spot to get themselves in to the FCS playoffs. We'll see if the polls can go ahead and reflect that as we now check out the brand new top 25. And we don't see a lot of changes at this point in the season. A lot of games have been played, but Akron is still number 1 in the country. They are the only undefeated team in America, with Texas Southern holding at number 2. But after that, we do have a few changes, given that there were some upsets that happened. Sam Houston State moves up 1 spot, and then Western Carolina, Tennessee Martin, New Hampshire, Eastern Illinois, We also have Southeast Missouri State and James Madison. All of those teams move up a couple of spots, in the polls, as we're starting to get a really clear picture of what that good old-fashioned first-round bye poll, what's that going to be looking like. As for the remainder of the top 25, Sacramento State, they fell down to number 10 in the country after their loss to North Dakota State. They were killed by the turnovers, but with this being their final game of the season, they should be good to go. Montana is up one spot. Northern Arizona is also up one spot as well, but a big riser in this week's poll, though, is North Dakota State, who, despite being at 6-4, they might actually be good to make it into the playoffs. They really needed that win against Sacramento State. As for the bottom half of the top 25 polls, Nicholls State moves up one spot to number 14, with them being on bye. Northwestern State moves down 10 spots after their dramatic upset loss to Southeast Louisiana. They played themselves out of a conference championship potentially, whereas Eastern Kentucky, they remain at the same spot. They're at 16. Texas State only moves up one spot. They're at number 17. They'll find out. They're probably playing against Sam Houston State in the conference championship. San Diego State moves up one spot. Utah State moves up a couple of spots. They're also having a great season, sitting at 10-1 as of right now. And your last few spots are Murray State at number 20, Alcorn State, and they move up one spot as well. They're number 21. Chattanooga moves up one spot. Samford down 9. They're still sitting there at number 23. They will need to win their next game in order to solidify their chances at an at-large bid. Then rounding out the group is South Carolina State at number 24, and Eastern Michigan, who is now in the top 25. They're ranked number 25 in the country. So that does mean that one team did end up falling out of the polls. That was Arkansas Pine-Bluff. And Arkansas Pine-Bluff, they are not even receiving votes right now, so they are in deep trouble. They do not control their own destiny right now. Few teams, though, they could sneak into the top 25 here late in the season. Georgia Southern, Montana State, Brown, and Southeast Louisiana, who got that upset victory. Those are some teams to watch out for. And then also we have the FCS Players of the Week. And in that FCS Players of the Week, Brent Trentzel, he did go to town against Buffalo. He had a really phenomenal game, 28 for 40, 485 yards, 5 touchdown passes to go with it as well. He was an absolute weapon for the Eagles as they wrap up their regular season. Sam Houston State, though, in their big win against Elon, Joseph Lowe was somebody that really was harassing that quarterback. He had multiple sacks in the game, and he also had a defensive touchdown as well. So I was a little surprised they gave him Defensive Player of the Week, but that is what the NCAA gods decided, and is certainly a good player to earn that award too. So this next episode that's going to be coming up here, it will be the last full episode here of the regular season. We're at the week number 14, so it'll be the last full week. We'll have plenty of game action, as well as maybe a check-in on one of your guys' customs, DeAndre Dowdell, who did transfer up to an FBS school after last season, so we'll see how he's doing. We'll also have, of course, that immaculate level of gameplay here around the country, see how that final poll is shaking out. And hey, maybe we can take a look and see what's going on with the conference standings. How is that going? How is that shaking out? Who has at least solidified themselves a chance to go to a conference championship game, or has outright clinched their own conference as well? So I'll leave that for the next episode. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of FCS content. If you did, make sure you go ahead and smack that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do happen to be brand new to the channel. This is John J. Gaming on the mic signing off. But I'm hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.